1,000 years. That is how long the Byzantine Empire lasted, and they spent most of it being absolutely insane. Emperors who bit servants, monks with street gangs, a fork that got declared a tool of Satan, and a golden nose. Oh wow, here we go. Fact 1. Emperor Justin II started competent, did emperor stuff, managed things. Then his brain just left. By the end, servants pushed him around in a tiny wheeled cart, like a toddler in a supermarket. Except this toddler bit people on the head, full-on chomped on servant skulls, taste testing them. What kept him calm? Organ music. So picture this, a deranged emperor rolling through marble halls, gnawing on terrified servants while a panicked organist plays non-stop. That was the leader of one of the most advanced civilizations on Earth. Fantastic. Really. Top-tier hiring. Fact 2. You think that is bad? Oh, it gets worse. 11th century. Byzantine princess brings a small golden fork to Venice. She uses it at a banquet. Local clergy lose their minds. A fork. 2 prongs. They declare it an instrument of Satan. Their logic: God gave you fingers. Using a fork insults the Creator. She later dies of plague. Church points at her corpse. See, devil's pitchfork. It took Europe centuries to accept forks. Centuries. Because of 2 prongs and religious panic. You absolute walnuts. Fact 3. Emperor Basil the First, tough guy, wrestled into power, iron fist, dies in the dumbest way possible. A deer gets its antlers tangled in his belt and runs. Drags the most powerful man in the eastern Mediterranean through a forest for 16 miles. A guard catches up, cuts the belt, frees him. Does Basil thank him? No. Basil, barely conscious, decides the guard tried to assassinate him by pulling a blade. Orders the guard executed, then dies from his injuries a few days later. He killed his own rescuer and then died anyway. Genius move. 10 out of 10. Wow. Fact 4. Hagia Sophia, holiest building in Christendom. Look at the marble balustrade on the upper gallery, carved in Norse runes. It says, Halfdan was here. A bored Viking guard scratched his name like a teenager in a bathroom stall. The carving is still there, over 1,000 years later. Halfdan, whoever you were, your graffiti outlasted empires. You left a bigger mark than most kings. Hep. Fact 5. Year 532. Chariot racing fans, blues and greens. Not sports fans, political gangs with street armies. They unite against the emperor, set fire to half the city, burn churches, burn government buildings. Emperor Justinian is about to flee. His wife Theodora says, I would rather die in purple than run. He stays, sends in generals. 30,000 rioters massacred in the Hippodrome, all because of chariots and taxes. You think soccer hooligans are bad? Byzantium had riots that reshaped civilization. Fact 6. Want to terrify foreign diplomats? Build the throne of Solomon. Mechanical throne. It rises toward the ceiling when someone kneels. So the ambassador looks up and the emperor is suddenly towering above him, flanking it. Giant golden mechanical lions. They roar. They slap their tails. Golden birds that sing. Hydraulics. In the 6th century. If the first walked into a room and the chair started levitating while robot lions roared at me, I would sign whatever treaty. Here, take my kingdom. Just don't let the metal cats eat me. Fact 7. Think you can avoid taxes by being poor. Byzantium had the kapnikin, smoke tax. If smoke came out of your chimney, you owed money. Cooking dinner, taxable. Not freezing to death, taxable. A tax on the basic act of existing in a building with a fire. Even breathing warmly came with a bill. Peak bureaucracy. Fact 8. Mount Athos. Autonomous monks for 1,000 years. One rule: no females, no women, no girls, no female animals. They cannot keep hens. Roosters are fine. But a chicken that lays eggs is a spiritual risk. They import eggs from the mainland. For 1,000 years. Even female cats are banned. You know what? Respect the commitment, but also, what the hell? Fact 9. Emperor Justinian II. Overthrown, they cut off his nose. Mutilated face equals unfit to rule. Ship him into exile. They were wrong. He spends years burning with revenge. Comes back with a solid gold prosthetic nose strapped to his face. Looks like a Bond villain from a cursed antique shop. He reclaims the throne, rules 6 more years, executes everyone who wronged him, including the guy who replaced him. A man had his nose cut off, strapped on a golden replacement, sailed back, seized power and murdered his enemies. This is not history. This is a metal album cover. Fact 10. Emperor Leo VI, married 4 times. Church says 3 marriages max. Leo wants a 4th because his 3rd wife died and he needs a male heir. Patriarch says no. Leo just marries her anyway. Patriarch bans him from Hagia Sophia. Leo waits outside. For years, the Pope gets involved. The whole Christian world debates a wedding count. The solution: his son is declared legitimate. Leo promises never to do it again. The empire almost split over. Paperwork. Fact 11. Byzantine emperors were often blinded to remove them, but a blind emperor could still be a threat. So sometimes they cut out his tongue, or slit his nostrils, or broke his fingers, and some still came back. One guy named Leontios had his nose slit, spent 9 years in a monastery, led a rebellion, took the throne, ruled 3 years, then got deposed and executed. Byzantine politics was Game of Thrones written by someone on caffeine overdose. Fact 12. The Varangian Guard, elite bodyguards, Vikings and Anglo-Saxons, fierce, loyal, terrifying. Their main job: protect the emperor from the Byzantines. Because Byzantines were constantly trying to kill their own emperor. So he hired huge foreigners with no local loyalties. Imagine plotting to stab the emperor and looking up to see a 6'7" Viking staring at you with an axe. Yeah, that plan is over. Fact 13. Greek fire. A liquid that burned on water could not be extinguished. The recipe is still lost today. They shot it through bronze tubes on ships, flamethrowers. In the 7th century, Arabs sailing to attack Constantinople saw the sea turn into hellfire. Imagine being that sailor. You would convert on the spot. Fact 14. Emperor Theophilus loved art, built beautiful buildings, but he hated icon worship. Thought people prayed to paint instead of God. He ordered icons smashed. One soldier found a famous icon of Christ. Instead of smashing it, he scratched his name on it. Theophilus executed him. So a Viking scratches Halfdan was here on Hagia Sophia and becomes a legend. A Byzantine scratches his name on an icon and dies. Priorities. Fact 15. The empire lasted from 395 to 1453. 1,058 years. Longer than Rome from Augustus to the fall of the West. How did it end? Not with a plague, not with barbarians. With a cannon so big it took 60 oxen to pull it. The last emperor, Constantine XI, died fighting on the walls. Threw off his royal clothes so no one would recognize his body. Never found. The empire that survived crusaders, Arabs, Vikings, earthquakes, and a fork scandal fell because of a really, really big gun. Fact 16. You want more? Emperor Michael III loved chariot racing so much he made his favorite charioteer a co-emperor, a chariot driver, shared the throne. The guy lasted 2 years before being murdered. Fact 17. Empress Irene blinded her own son to take the throne. Then she ruled alone. The Pope used that as an excuse to crown Charlemagne emperor instead, because a woman on the throne was apparently worse than a sun-blinding mother. Wow. Fact 18. Byzantine monks formed street gangs called the Blues and Greens. They fought each other with clubs, chanted political slogans during church services. The emperor had to send troops to break up monastery brawls. Monks, with clubs, pray then slay. Fact 19. One emperor, Justinian I, almost fled during the Nika riots. His wife Theodora gave that speech about dying in purple. But here is the twist. Theodora was a former actress and courtesan. The Empress of Rome used to perform on stage, and she had more spine than every general combined. Fact 20. The empire had a eunuch patriarch system. Some of their most powerful officials were castrated. They ran the government, led armies, negotiated treaties, and no one blinked. Fact 21. Emperor Alexios I watched the First Crusade arrive and immediately realized, these guys are worse than the Muslims. He tried to get rid of them, failed. The Crusaders eventually sacked Constantinople in 1204. Nice job, Alexios. Fact 22. Here is the peak. The golden-nosed guy, Justinian II. After he reclaimed the throne, he brought the men who cut off his nose to the hippodrome. He had them tied to stakes. Then he watched as their wives and children were killed in front of them. Then he had them slowly crushed to death. And he did all of this wearing a solid gold nose. That is not an emperor. That is a supervillain origin story. Fact 23. The empire fell in 1453. But the last Byzantine princess, Sophia Paleologina, married a Russian prince. Her grandson became the first Tsar of Russia. Moscow declared itself Third Rome. Byzantium died. But its ghost haunted Russia for 400 years. So here we are. 1,000 years of emperors biting servants, forks terrifying priests, golden noses, and monks with clubs. It was absurd. It was unhinged, and somehow, it worked. For 1,000 years. Type golden nose if you would have worn that prosthetic. Type smoke tax if you are grateful for your local IRS. Share this with someone who thinks ancient history is boring. Because if you are not telling your friends about the Viking who vandalized Hagia Sophia by dinner, I have failed as a historian. Actually, no, I succeeded as a chaos gremlin. Halfdan was here, and so was the guy with the golden nose. And the fork and the toddler emperor. Wow.